Welcome to the latest edition of the LFC Delaware podcast. Easier for me to say. This week, we don't have a guest, but what we do have is a lot of conversation about Liverpool's first game back. Obviously, you've been living somewhere not known to us if you don't know that we drew 0-0 against the boys from across the park. We're going to talk about that extensively. We're going to look forward a little, and we're going to explore kind of the strange media reaction to Liverpool's inability to win a game in the last 3 months, or something like that. As usual, a couple of announcements first. Rooney's is back and open for matches. I think some of our group attended there yesterday. You want to say anything about what that looked like, Tim?
I saw it through a Zoom, but it looks like, from what I heard, our guy Dan O'Hara was there. Said they had the sliding doors open. They were in the back bar where we usually are, so the tables are a little more spread out. But it was in the regular room because there was only about 10 of us showed up. So instead of having that special banquet space, we're just in the proper bar area, which sounds good. We're not quite sure if we need reservations again for Wednesday against Crystal Palace. So maybe drop a line.
I assume reservations are going to be needed for anything until Delaware goes into another phase, which it hasn't announced yet.
Right. So maybe just if you're interested in attending at Rooney's, maybe give them a call and just let them know that you want to watch the match.
Yeah.
And see if they can seat you for that.
Yep. Sounds good.
I imagine a Wednesday afternoon at 3:00 is probably not going to be exactly rush hour in the dining area, but
right.
We'll see.
Might be easier on a Wednesday than it would have been on a Sunday. Yeah. So a couple of things we're going to talk about.
Day, yeah.
One is the Anfield shop. It never closed down, but always want to give a shout out to the fact they've got a ton of new stuff in. And if you're listening Lee Starnes, or when you listen Lee Starnes, I believe they have the barware in now. They also have a ton of replica shirts. Seriously thinking about the Candy last time we won the league shirt. But anyway, that's good job my wife doesn't watch this.
And she also mentioned she's going to have the Black Lives Matter sleeve patches. If you wanted to order a shirt with that on there, they won't have the NHS patch because they're not available stateside, but you can get the Black Lives Matter patch.
Yes.
Either on a new shirt, or you can send your shirt to them and have it ironed on.
Any word on replica kits for the first round?
Oh, you can. I did see somewhere on that you can get the exact replica kit, but I don't know if that's only available in the UK. If you're getting it from the Anfield shop, they won't have the NHS logo. That's all we know. So, yeah. Okay. Talking of Black Lives Matter, we put out a statement actually today about some changes we want to make to our bylaws in Delaware, and I think Sean's got that in front of him. Yeah. Basically, we've taken the essence of what the players and the club have talked about and tried to make our statement about inclusion and diversity as strong as we can. So,
yeah, sure. So the statement reads, "There is no place for prejudice in our community. We stand for inclusion and respect regardless of color or creed. LFC Delaware stands alongside our team and our club and all those who oppose discrimination in any form."
Thanks, Sean. And even it's only been up, I think, 12 hours, but it's got more hits than any other post we've had. I keep saying this, but probably more posts than we've had for anything, more likes than anything we've had on the LFC Delaware Facebook feed. So, which is great. So back to the regularly scheduled programming. Obviously, we're recording this on Monday, the day after Liverpool drew with Everton 0-0 at Goodison Park. And we're going to explore a few things about kind of the lineup, maybe things that look good and maybe things that could look better. So I'm going to go to Sean first. What was your thoughts about the team selection? Let's start with that.
First thing that stood out to me was that Mo wasn't in the team, and then there were a few other things that stood out, like Nabi was starting, and Robbo was on the bench too. But I had known that he had a knock, so yeah. I mean, but I guess It's not. It wasn't. No, I know. I disagree with others on this. Like, it wasn't super surprising to me that there was some rotation. I thought it would be more of a first team. But if Mo and Robbo had started, that's pretty close to a first team in my view, anyway. But the biggest thing that stood out to me was Mo not being there, because he's been our best attacking player for whatever 2-3 years now. He's one of the best in league history, really, if you look at his overall stats. So that was that's what stood out to me the most.
Sean, can I ask your opinion? Which is a bigger detriment to playing the Liverpool style, Mo being out or Robertson being out?
That's a tough question. I would say Mo, but it's close, because I think it was sort of a double whammy, because Trent likes to play those crossfield balls to Robbo all the time, and I thought we really lost that width on the left side too. But I think Mo is probably the most creative attacker we have, and he stretches the defense. And the way Everton was playing, it was basically two banks of four, very narrow. And I just thought we really missed both the width of Robbo and Mo, because Mo not only makes those kind of darting runs behind the defense and into the box, but he also makes the most passes into the box, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's been one of the things we'll talk about it in a little bit. But in terms of the coverage, it's been really crazy to me that more people haven't pointed out the impact of Mo not being in the team.
Well, that doesn't sell newspapers.
So Charlie, what did you learn yesterday about the team?
Honestly, I didn't see a lot of the first stretch of games. I watched a little bit of the City game on Wednesday, and saw the farcical moments of the Villa game. It just seemed that everyone was well off. The first half of most of those games, at least that I saw, seemed to be just kind of a very much a feeling out process. There are a lot of injuries, so I guess the thing that struck me, I was a little bit down that it was kind of a pretty dull game. There were better things I could have been doing on Father's Day than sitting there watching that game. But I was really hoping that, as I saw these games leading up to the Liverpool game, like, all right, well, yeah, this was a bit of a dud. But the Liverpool game, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be great. But it's to be expected that when in full swing, obviously those two players not being in the starting lineup, I don't know. I'd be surprised if he hadn't gone with the full strength lineup if everyone had been available. But you never know, because of the Palace game coming up soon, and Klopp's penchant lately for really using rotated sides for the Everton games. But having said that, the only league Everton games prior to this one were not with Ancelotti, so that might have changed things. I don't know, but it was kind of dull. It was a shame about the Matip injury. I felt like that really kind of hindered us and probably swung the game in Everton's favour late. They were the ones kind of pressing. We just didn't have a lot of fluency. They looked a little more fluent than we did, but in either case, it just kind of looked like a first preseason game. But it wasn't supposed to be. It was supposed to have more meaning and so on, being the derby and being the with the possibility that this was going to be the game that was putting us on the precipice of potentially wrapping it up. But hey, it is what it is. Looking forward to bigger and better.
Putting us on the precipice. Okay. So I think there were a couple of things that played into disappointment with the game. One was like the beating Blackburn 6-0.
Yeah.
And I read various people saying, "Oh, that doesn't really matter." But honestly, you're kind of thinking, "Wow, they must be really raring to go and like really up for it." I do think, and Tim, I'd really like to get your opinion. I do think one of the big differences with not having Robertson and Salah is that when you've got a team that's basically set up with two banks of four deep, you need to stretch the field. And once Milner went off, that wasn't happening on the left. And I think Sean commented before we started recording, Minamino's tendency to drift inside. I mean, not that he was terrible, but it meant that we were not pulling them out and kind of exposing gaps that would have existed had they had to play their fullbacks wide or the defensive midfielders wide.
I was disappointed to not see like a varied form. Like I know Klopp loves his 4-3-3, but I think in maybe the 2 times we've played Everton this season, I think we went with a 4-2-3-1, and maybe like 4 ago, like December of last year, the same thing. And it seems to me that the team plays better against a bus when they have that kind of like dangling striker that can kind of sneak behind the lines, and then the wingers to stretch the field out, like you said. So that was a little bit disappointing, but I think at the same time that had a lot to do with the fact that Robertson's not there stretching that left side out, and that Salah wasn't there. As we were saying, like I think they said most of the balls that Minamino fielded, like passes from Trent, were actually in the center of the pitch. So he wasn't down by that corner flag where Mo usually will take the ball to. So that it was kind of lopsided on both sides.
Yep.
So I think that was very noticeable to me. With Milner at the left fullback, but then especially when they brought Gomez in, when Milner had to go out with the quad, I kind of let out a big sigh. And my wife said, well, what's the big deal? I don't understand. And I said, well, you've got a right-footed guy on the left wing, so he's always going to be out of position.
Mm-hmm.
And even when he's in position, Joe Gomez isn't going to hit any long strikes or long passes, really.
I did think he was surprisingly off-field at times, but I do think there were several moments where if he'd been a naturally left-footed player, he'd have been able to play a first-time ball rather than kind of get his feet sorted out before he played the pass.
Right, and I just never bought him as a right back either. I think as a center back, he looks solid, but as a right back, like he doesn't scare me like Trent. Like Trent, you kind of think he could score a goal this game.
Yeah.
You never really think, oh, Joe's going to sink one from deep.
I mean, Trent is like a maybe a generational player too, though. I mean,
right. But I mean, also Robertson, like he'll screw up. He'll look like he should score a goal and then he won't. But at least he goes for it sometimes.
Oh yeah. I mean, and he runs nonstop. But I actually thought Trent looked a little off to me. He had a lot of passes that he would normally. I just felt like he wasn't as accurate as he normally is passing the ball, which he was just. And I thought we were way too reliant on him to create too.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't. He wasn't in sync. You know, like the whole team wasn't. But
I think you're right. I think but on this day, it's probably easier to go for what didn't work. So I was hoping we could spend at least a little bit of time talking about what did work, and then come back to
Sure.
So
yeah.
I'll kick it off by saying I feel like I might have jinxed Andy Robertson. I think if you know the story, because I sent off my Andy Robertson shirt to get the FIFA World Cup badge put on it. Got lost in the post. And I could not get a replacement. It's like, Anyway, so sorry, deviating, but I feel somehow to blame for this. I don't know how I'm going to turn it around, but anyway. So
somehow,
who impressed you? Well, I just need to find an Andy Robertson shirt. If you're out there and you know how to get one, so.
I'm glad to see Allison back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Obviously, your starter is always going to be better than your second string guy, but even when he gets squirrely, like I still you don't worry about him, which is how Adrian was for some of his games, but obviously not the important ones. But it was good to see him back there. It was good to see him make some saves with the assistance of his white posts on the side of the net.
Yeah. And Joe Gomez saved one of them, right?
Oh, did he? I don't.
Well, there's that cross. I can't remember exactly the run of play, but I think he cleared it basically.
The one that hit the post was where Gomez deflected it away from the goal.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that.
Keita was good.
Replay.
Yeah, I thought Keita was great, and I thought Minamino looked good.
Yeah, both of them I think looked good. I guess the reason Keita rather than Gini was to replace some of the leg that were missing with Robbo, Milner in place of Robbo, so Keita was there to perhaps offer that threat. But he was good. I'm really looking forward to seeing Keita get some consistency because he's had some really good-looking spells, some unfortunate injuries. Hopefully it's misfortune rather than, a preclusion towards getting injured. But, look, there was definitely some positives, but, yeah. And the other positive that I took out of it, that as far as I believe, we're still Champions League champions. We're still world champions, and we're about to be Premier League champions if we get all of one single point out of the next 3 games. That's all we need. So I need everyone to relax a little bit.
Oh, by the way, it's 2 games because if they draw at City, then it's over.
Oh yeah, good point.
They would need one more.
Oh, with a win at Palace and then a draw at City.
With a draw at Palace, a draw at City,
and 2 points as well.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was 5 points total, one way or the other, between us and City to start the league. Right?
Yeah, we'll do the math.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's inevitable either way.
We would need 3.
And got somebody in who can count.
So I thought Nabi was great. I really, and somebody pointed out to me prior to the game, I guess like last week, that I'd forgotten about this, but he started the first leg against Barcelona last year in the Champions League.
Yep.
So he's played some pretty big games for us, and he was actually really good in that game. We lost it after he got subbed out. Yeah. You remember?
He got hacked down. He got hacked down by Rakitic.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I didn't remember that, but yeah. But he has.
But they got a card, right? Or at least a foul, right?
He may have got a card, but it was a terrible tackle.
It's a shame because he's looked great when he's played, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. If he could ever stay healthy, he'd be, I think, part of what we've been missing in midfield is just a little bit more creative between him and Ox.
Yeah.
We need them to stay healthy we probably don't really need them because we have the best league season in history, but it helps. It helps.
I think, like, as far as rotating the squads go, as you were saying earlier, like having to rotate through this, I think I kind of feel like he's wasted at like the right or left side of the midfield.
Mm-hmm.
I think where I would like to see him is the article I was reading today that was talking about Minamino being more of a natural replacement for Firmino. They were actually referring to the fact that Klopp always touts that he plays a 4-3-3, but with the way Mo and Sadio move forward, it's almost like a double easy for me to say, double strikers up front and like a diamond midfield where Bobby is the tip of the diamond that way.
Yeah.
And I think if we could see a match with Mo and Sadio up there and either Minamino or Keita in that false 9 role, it would be really interesting to see because so far as I know, neither one of them has had that opportunity as yet. They're kind of like being shoehorned into other places on the pitch. Yeah. And I think that's like a natural position for both of them because that was Nabi's position at Leipzig at least because they played 2 strikers up top often. So he was kind of that late arriving guy like Bobby is. So it would be interesting to see, but I think he was definitely one of the top 2 on the pitch. It would be an arm wrestle between him and Sadio yesterday for sure.
Yeah. Oh God, the Sadio was getting kicked all over the place. He gets fouled so much. It's crazy.
What did he draw? 5, I think.
I don't know, but he didn't. He should have had more than they gave him.
Yeah.
He gets fouled so much all the time, but yesterday it was crazy. Like I don't know if I just noticed it more. Or...
So NBC does a highlights thing, so they had like 11 minutes of highlights. Like most of the 11 minutes of highlights was someone being hacked down, like 5 yards outside Everton's penalty area. Like Mane several times, Oxlade-Chamberlain at least once.
Tactical fouls.
Oh, it's interesting that these were the highlights, right? I'm kind of looking back at this thinking, one of the ways in which they were able to stop us was by giving fouls away around the edge of the box.
But the one thing, one of the things that had the other part of the analysis of the game that I haven't heard that I saw anyway is that they did look like much more of an Ancelotti team than I remember them looking all season.
Yeah.
I mean, they were playing, they defended very well. They were hacking tactical fouls, and they actually countered pretty well a couple times. we're the best team in the league. So, like, I thought they played pretty well, all things
in
considered.
the
And
world.
yeah, right.
I
So,
think the elephant in the room too is that like everyone's talking about the fact like this should have been like a 7-0 Liverpool win. Like I expect a Merseyside derby to be boring because I expect them to park the bus, like you said, Paul. Like 8 in the box. If we get out of here with 1 point, then that's a win for us on the other side of the park.
I'm pretty sure I heard today, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but there's been 1 goal in the last 5 games against Everton away.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for us to have a 0-0 against Everton away.
Right.
So
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well,
funny
the
because
last season
it brings me back to Brendan Rodgers' last game, a draw away at Everton, and he gets fired. I'm like, that's not a bad result.
You're saying
Like,
flop out?
that was
historically,
pre-planned, though. They were already talking.
I know. And that's what I love. I love that they jumped on Klopp.
Yeah.
But at the time, and hey, I'm loyal to a fault, but I'm like, really? That?
Yeah.
I mean, there are other games where I was thinking like, maybe that's it, but I would draw away. Oh, well.
So maybe this is for
Glad it worked out the way it did, though.
Maybe that's for another show, because then we could talk about the 6-1 at Stoke and why he didn't leave immediately after that.
Oh, yeah. As I remember, we started that season slow, as I remember.
We talked about good performances. What do we think? Who do we think needs more time? Who do we think really looked like they were struggling a bit after the break, which is completely understandable for any of them to be in that position. But
I didn't think Ginny looked very good personally. I thought he was off when he came on. He didn't look as good as he normally does. Anyway,
maybe explains why he was on the bench in terms of they'd done the analysis. I agree. What it reminded me of was we had an away game at Leicester. It was last season, was it? We were completely controlling the game, and then Gini gave the ball away, and like for 30 minutes, like they were all over us. I saw that he did that again. They created one of their better chances from that, but it did feel he wasn't quite ready.
Well, look, he's a great player, and he's a big impact player for us. I was kind of hoping he might come in like he did in the Barcelona game and be all pissed off and score a brace. But maybe we're overlooking the fact that in most cases, when Gini is where he is, he has Robbo behind him to his left and Sadio in front of him to his left. Maybe without that, it's an adjustment he needs to make. I don't doubt that maybe he could do it, but maybe that's part of why he looks so solid where he does when he does for us consistently.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he was kind of surrounded by different players. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought when Lovren came in, he didn't look so great right after he came.
I would say, to be fair, I thought our team dropped off after we subbed Nobby and Bobby out. I thought we dropped off more around the 65th minute, and then we dropped another level after Matip went out. It was like it happened kind of quick, but I feel like we dropped off before Matip went off.
Two things.
I was kind of hoping they might be a little bit creative. Klopp might be a little creative there and say, move Gomez back in and put Gini or someone out.
Yeah, or we could have gone to a back three.
Please don't give Sean more fuel for this post-match analysis. Okay, Lovren was not good. He was super, super cold, but he still wears this. So let's give the guy some love.
You had 2 points, Paul?
So, there's probably a couple of things to say about Lovren, though, because he probably did not expect to come on, right? He's a full-choice centre-back. We were going through centre-backs at a rate there. So I can't imagine anyone thought he was ready to play. Mm-hmm. But Jamie Carragher made a point about him that he's so front foot, and this is why a lot of people say we lost the Watford game, because Lovren was trying to fight a battle with Deeney, and his smarter other centre-half partner doesn't do stuff like that. He kind of like reads the game and joins in when he needs to. He's not every time trying to win a fight. And I think there was a bit of some of Lovren yesterday that kind of we've seen in other games has kind of let him down, where he's like almost trying too hard to win like this battle and not thinking about, okay, there's a long game here. We don't need to, we don't need to be diving in and winning tackles.
Yeah, the biggest thing is he tends to drift out of position. I mean, that's the main thing for me with Lovren. It's like, and he did that a lot yesterday, where he was going out wide and leaving space, but he doesn't always do it. Like there's other times he looks like a world-class defender. It's just but I mean, like a 0-0 draw is my whole point. Like it's been over 100 days. A 0-0 draw in a derby against Everton, especially when they're managed by Ancelotti, is not a bad result. It's not the result we wanted, but it's not a terrible result. So I just the coverage of this has been ridiculous. Like all of a sudden we're falling off the map when we how many of these games end up the same way, where they're very low scoring or it's a 0-0 or something. That's the way they've been under Klopp. So
I think one of the things though is the better teams seem to start better in the other leagues. So if you look at Bayern and Dortmund and Real Madrid and Barcelona, and I think it's hard to get away from the fact that this was probably the most difficult game that anyone started off with, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's a derby,
this is a nasty game for us the best of times. Ancelotti had months to plot playing his 4-4-2 with his banks of four, and we probably just need to think harder about how we beat Napoli the times that we did.
Yeah.
So,
fortunately, we don't play another team that's going to do that on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
The Hodge Palace.
so we could talk about that for sure. There were a couple of my other points. Thanks, Tim, for saying there were 2 points. Was I do think that people there were like Salah looked like he was running up and down, probably ready to go on. I can imagine the reaction of the rest of the players when, now we can't use Mo, and we've not necessarily that it's even Lovren. It's like we lost our chance here to potentially kind of take this game away from Everton.
That was my reaction when Matip got hurt. I was like, oh, it's like a
double whammy
on either.
Could have got more creative when you think about it. Like I know never second guess Klopp, but Fabinho for Monaco played as a fullback, so you could have slotted him back there and moved Henderson back. You could have done some maneuvering. It's easy for me to say.
It's in Fabinho's contract that he can't play right back for Liverpool. You know that, right?
Is it really?
No, I'm making it up, but clearly there's something. He's never played right back for Liverpool.
Because he played center back his first season, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's played right back for Brazil, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And then but I don't think he likes it. I don't think he wants to play there. But
no, right. Nobody wants to.
Yeah.
Who wants to be a right back? Right. Okay.
Not even Trent, I heard.
So we're going to talk about the Palace game, but I don't want to go once around for the media's completely balanced reaction to Liverpool failing to beat Everton and not having won for 3 months. Well, not being played for 3 months, right? But anyway,
the race is tightening, right?
Yes. We are now even with City on goal differential. So should it come down to a tie at the end of the season?
Yeah. They're only 20 points behind with 8 to play.
Yeah. Okay, if I
don't know about you, but I'm nervous.
If they make up 20 points, trust me, goal differential is going to be in their favor. So get this goal differential conversation out because it's completely irrelevant right now. Yeah. If it's even, they have the advantage. But 3 ties, one against Crystal Palace gives us 1, one against City gives us 3, and the next one gives us 1. 5 points. We win.
I thought we were moving off the math. I wasn't sure this was a good idea to go down that path.
I revisited the math. I got a calculator.
So, I didn't watch on. I was not on Zoom with you guys. We were watching it in a socially distant yard, and I got to say, most of the energy was about the diabolical NBC commentary on the game. I don't know if that was your feeling. Oh, I think we lost Sean.
Hi, Sean.
He was so offended by the NBC commentary, he felt the need to leave.
It's probably a good thing we don't have his input on it because there was a rant there on the dialogue.
Well, I've never seen that happen on anybody else's podcast. Okay. Yeah. So I'll give you a flavor. The 15th time he mentioned that it had been 30 years since Liverpool had won a trophy, or the Premier League trophy. He counted the ages of the players to see which ones were alive. There was a lot.
Oh yeah, I did remember that, where they were talking about how Jordan Henderson was born. Was it 40 days after Liverpool last won the league, and then that they've never won the Premier League?
Right, because the world only started in 1992.
Definitely.
So
Apart from which, a couple of times he says it's been 30 years since Liverpool won a league title. Yeah. Incorrect. We've won the Champions League twice. That's a league title, okay? It's not the league title, but give me a break. Like, you're honestly. But what do you expect? What do you got? A Chelsea and a Tottenham player? Like, okay.
I felt it wasn't
one of
worthy
them's Arsenal.
So hopefully you've calmed down, Sean, thinking about Arlo White and his.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a little technical issue here. I'm not sure. Somebody must have done something upstairs, but sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. So any more on the? So I guess the other media thing is Liverpool have only won one game in 5 now. So
yeah.
Oh,
true.
Yeah, that's the worst one. And go back and look at what those games were. It was Atletico at home, which we had won, and then 8-2 in our was the Chelsea FA Cup.
So sorry for the technical difficulties. Obviously, media is conspiring against us to talk down their performance over the last 2 days. We are, though, just as a reminder, 20 points clear, even if our goal difference is now suspect. We're going to move on to talk about Wednesday. What are we? So having anticipated that we'd win at least 5-0 on Sunday, what are we thinking about Wednesday's outcome? Sean?
What do I think about the outcome?
So, well, if you're, are you thinking this is going to be an easier game or kind of similar as the one we just experienced?
I think it'll be similar, but I think it'll be a little bit easier. It's not a derby. It's not a team that's managed by Ancelotti, and hopefully we'll have both Robbo and Mo back, which should make a big difference. So I would expect it to be kind of tight, and I think they'll sit back and play 2 banks of 4 just like Everton did. But I think Everton's more talented than Palace, and so we should have a better chance of breaking through.
Just before you answer the question, Tim, Charlie, just remind it was 4-3 last year against Palace. So, what are your thoughts, Charlie?
Did they have the best right back in the league, Wan Bissaka, still at that time, though?
Well played, sir. Look, I if I'm all about predictions, I thought we'd win. Clearly we'd win the last game 5-0, and it was going to be 5-0. So you're going to have to smash those aggregates together. It's going to be 10-0, no doubt about it. No, look, I don't predict outcomes. What I'm most interested in is Klopp and what he does, and the fact that he has 5 substitutions now is a massive tactical shift and a massive tactical advantage if you utilize it. And I'm interested to see how he uses that. You obviously have the 3 windows plus whatever you do at halftime. So I think that's going to be kind of the really fascinating thing is how Klopp decides to use those substitutions. Initially he was very reticent to use substitutions, and he relied on the starting 11 throughout most of the game. And he's worked these, 70, maybe sometimes earlier substitutions into his plan. But hey, do you throw this in? The thing that's amazed me about Klopp is that how he's able to use rule changes and key on them and make sure that he's utilizing the adjustment that this has made well before anyone else is saying, hey, look, this is an opportunity here. So that's what I'm interested in seeing. So I'm not going to give any kind of a
Charlie thinks it's going to be 10-0.
Yeah, sure.
No, but Charlie makes a really good point about the substitutions. I thought in this last game, it looked like the substitution at half, and then the 2 substitutions at 65 minutes, and then it looked like he was planning to sub Mo. Like, it looked to me like he planned to do 4 subs in the second half of this past game. So I agree. I would probably expect him to do something similar just to save everyone's legs. But
I was going to make a punchline about Wan-Bissaka, Tim, but clearly that got lost. 10-0, what do you think?
I don't think there's going to be any matches that are easy for the rest of the season. I think if we obviously dropped 3 to Watford, it wasn't because they're a quality team. It was because every team is playing us like it's their championship. So I think they're all going to be hard. I think this one's going to be especially difficult going against a technical mastermind like Roy Hodgson. Probably the best coach in the league. Hands down.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. No, but Palace has scored 7 more goals in the entire season than Liverpool has allowed in the entire season. So I don't expect it to be a shootout like last year. I think they've dropped off in some of the quality that they had last season. But I still think it's going to be tight. I do think maybe we'll see more starters out there since we have a full 7 days until our next match. So hopefully everyone being fit, we do see the big guns out there. Try to knock 3 more off the board. I'll give it a 3-1.
Okay.
Let's not forget that Roy Hodgson has done more for Liverpool in the last 2 years than he had in his entire career beforehand.
There is no doubt about that. That's
The Hodge.
I don't think he has the best record against Liverpool, though. If I'm not mistaken.
But he's got a really good record against City.
Well, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. So, what are we watching it on Wednesday? What are our plans?
I'll have a child tethered to each hand while I watch it from my living room. It's going to be really exciting.
We will have a Zoom call open. I think we'll do that again.
Yeah.
What about you, Sean? What are you watching?
I'll probably be watching on either my phone or my computer up in my daughter's bedroom, which is my converted office right now, as the babysitter watches the girls downstairs. So luckily my wife doesn't watch podcasts. So
must be nice, Sean. It must be nice.
Yeah. So she's unlikely to yell, "Where is my goddamn podcast?"
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm paying the babysitter for this. Yeah.
Yeah, I found on Sunday I did not necessarily enjoy watching it from the comfort of my living room. We've also talked about maybe trying to put a picnic table outside the garage door at the Larimer and watching it there. We'll see.
There's always roomies, and I think we're hosting the outdoor party again for at least a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That worked out well with the screen.
So on Sunday we had 15 people watching. So the image is not as clear, obviously, as if you're in your house, but it was definitely watchable and kind of with the sound amped up, and like actually talking to other humans, kind of close to each other. That actually, if we scored a goal, I could imagine it would have been the best experience. Yeah.
Lots of air high fives.
That kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool. It was cool.
It was super responsible. It was lovely, actually.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
I did air high fives for years, even before social distancing. Just complete miss. I've been practicing all my life for this time.
I think we're getting close to wrapping up. I did have one other thought, actually, it'd be interesting in your opinion on. Obviously, before the lockdown, Jurgen Klopp was not saying we're going to win the league. But clearly, of late, before we played, he came out and said it's a matter of when, not if. Do you think that had an impact on the performance on Sunday, that they weren't perhaps quite so focused on like the first game as they might have been?
I think it's definitely possible. I think that we've seen that happen with teams in all facets of sporting events. But I would like to think that the mentality monsters have a better mentality than that. But it's got to be hard, like especially 3 months off, to be like, all we got to do is win 2.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we've got a great record against Everton, so let's just worry about Palace. So I was worried more about Palace, where I was going to watch that because I thought, well, that could be it. It could be over on that week. So
yeah. I don't know. I think we haven't played in 100 days, and it was a derby against Everton, and we didn't have 2 of our most important players in the team. I mean, I think that kind of explains it. We defended very well up until the end, I thought, which was good. They didn't really get anything until, after 70 minutes or so or whatever. Like I said, I think Nabi and Minamino looked a lot better than they have most of the season.
Yeah.
So I would expect us to win against Palace, and then hopefully we can clinch it against City. That'd be fun.
Well, don't forget that Richarlison did not successfully dribble past Virgil this game, so that's a win right there. We kept that guy under wraps.
Well, he choked on that. He had that one big chance, and he totally blew it. That was funny. You remember that? He shot it over the goal.
He still wasn't. He deliberately avoided Van Dijk, it seemed to me.
Yeah, I agree.
So there's plenty of other stuff I'm sure we could talk about in terms of Mike Dean's eccentric giving out of yellow cards. So Liverpool players who committed 1 foul and 15 fouls later, Richarlison still doesn't have a yellow card.
Right, and how many fouls did Richarlison draw on the day? It was a ridiculous number.
Well, I won't even talk about Seamus Coleman and his grappling of Sadio Mane. Yeah. We're going to close with one last thing. Well, usually we do like one Liverpool-related thing, but feel free to look around and see what happened in the first week of the Premier League being back. What's the one thing that you kind of would reflect on? Let's start with Sean.
I was disappointed that Man U and Chelsea didn't lose, I guess. I was hoping that at least one of the 2 would lose.
So Chelsea were only playing Villa.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to watch the Chelsea match. When Villa went up 1-0, I was very hopeful that they'd at least drop points. Yeah. But I mean, Villa is so terrible.
It was like the second attack of the game, I think.
Yeah.
The first half. Yeah. And on the Man United thing, so I'm going to put it on record now. I do think they're going to struggle the rest of the season, in part because they're really set up to counterattack. And they've got not many teams left to play who are going to let you counterattack. We'll see.
Fair point.
Yeah, we'll see.
Now, what if they play Pogba and Fernandes both in the midfield? They can kick those long bomb passes like no one else in the league can.
Yeah. But it was very interesting
conversation.
So I have multiple things I could go to, but what I found fascinating was Mourinho was quite happy to throw his fellow countryman Fernandes under the bus for being a diver in his post-match interview.
Well, he was wearing the right colored jersey, so Mourinho will throw anyone under the bus. In fact, it doesn't even matter what color jersey they're wearing, his or the other color. My takeaway was, how does VAR not communicate with goal line technology to say that there's a not conclusive result from the goal line technology, which is very rare, clearly possible? And how does VAR not say, okay, if you didn't have a conclusive result, let us take a look? Because I saw at least 5 different shots that were conclusive from Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That was ridiculous.
You got these 2 completely independent systems, that's fine. But they have to be able to communicate. There has to be people running them saying, hey, hold on, technology's got an issue here. Why don't you guys take it? Come on.
I don't know how the line...
And that could be huge for Sheffield.
It could cost them however much money if they don't... if the 5th place team makes Champions League and they finish, 1 point out of 5th, that would have cost them. That was a ridiculous call. I don't understand why they couldn't challenge that. I don't understand how the linesman didn't see that clearly enough to call that out. If you're standing right there, you know.
The linesman's not looking for it.
Yeah.
How could you miss it? The
linesman's not looking for it because he has goal line technology. It's not the linesman's fault. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, the official, all he had to do, he just kept pointing at the watch, which I suppose is where the Hawkeye thing comes through. Yeah. All he had to do is realize this entire team is telling me that something bad happened. So instead of just restarting right away, all he had to do is just call to the video official and say, hey, just take a look at that real quick. Like, it doesn't have to be a 5-minute review.
He shouldn't have to call to the video official. The official should be calling to him saying, just give us a minute here.
Yeah.
Hawkeye should have been on the phone saying, hey, guys, there's an issue here. We got no conclusive angle. VAR's got to be saying, a referee, hold it. Don't blow the whistle for a restart yet. Let us look at this. Yeah. I mean, have the technology.
So
use it.
Here's the bigger issue for me. People clearly have trusted Hawkeye, whoever this is. And on the basis I think of, there must be some sensors on the goal line that get this absolutely right. And so if you have a goal, so they've never made a mistake in what, how do you say, 9,000?
6,000.
I think they said 6,000.
How do we know this now?
Yeah.
Well, and I assumed what you just said, that there was some sort of like sensors, like maybe there was a microchip in the ball. It's just 7 cameras that offer 7 different views. And somehow the way that Nyland? The way he went behind the post and the defender was standing in front of him, they occluded all 7 cameras at once, so they couldn't record that it was over the line. That seems like very fallible technology.
Totally. I want the Sadio Mane goal back.
If you guys had followed cricket, this technology has been successfully implemented for many, many years. So personally, when I hear Hawkeye, and I'm not necessarily trusting of technology, but Hawkeye to me has a absolutely great reputation of being very accurate and you know, almost indisputable. But hey, technology.
He is the worst Avenger.
So Tim, you have the last word. What Guendouzi moment? Sorry, just what moment do you?
So I had forgot about it earlier when we were talking about funny commentary points. I don't think it was commentary. I think it was on Twitter I saw after it was clear that City was going to beat Burnley today, which was a huge shock to everyone. But someone had actually posted on Twitter that if Liverpool wins against Palace on Wednesday, then City is clearly going to just lie down and take a loss against Chelsea on Thursday so that they don't risk losing the league to Liverpool at home next Thursday, which is very terrible reasoning.
Wow, it is.
I don't think I see Pep ever doing that, ever losing a game on purpose, or even admitting that the season's over even after they've lost.
So is this a City fan trying to kind of like get their excuses in early?
I think it was a Liverpool person. Yeah, it was very nonsensical. But it was like on that line where I like stopped to think about it, like, oh, I could see that. I can't see that happening.
No, Pep's not going to do that. God.
So they would lose in order to be able to offer Liverpool a guard of honor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that would be very kind of them. That sounds much more likely.
I'll take it. Don't worry.
Yeah. So on that note, we should probably leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you made it all the way through, next week we have a couple of really wonderful guests. We've got Sean, sometime presenter of the review on the Anfield Wrap, and we have Kerry Elizabeth as well, and she is a travel blogger and a Liverpool fan who seems even more connected than Amy Kate. If Amy Kate's listening, I don't mean it. Okay. See you all.
Fighting words.